Today's episode, I'm going to be going over mastering time management as a hybrid athlete dad. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for any period of time, you know that before I like to dive into the topic of today's episode, I like to go over anything health, fitness, personal life that I think that you may find interesting, helpful, or just I feel like sharing it and getting it off my chest. So today, our daughter, she, I wouldn't say that she has the flu. Everyone at daycare, and I say everyone in her specific, what we would call the toddler room, they have like the preschool room, and then they have the infant room. So she's in the toddler room right now. A lot of people that she had been in there, I say people, toddlers that had been in the toddler room, they had the flu. On Tuesday this week, our daughter was sent home at 9 in the morning because they said that she had a bad cough, but no fever. It was a little bit difficult, but ended up having to get her to the doctor, had to get a doctor's note, even though she was acting fine. But nonetheless, and then yesterday she got sent home. Luckily, it was in the afternoon. And in the afternoon, we ended up, they said she had a fever of 101. I don't, we took her temperature here. I don't see it, but I know that they're being very cautious at daycare, especially with the flu going around. They mentioned that they had the Coxsackie virus going around there as well. I really hope she doesn't get that because I got that from her. And I basically had canker sores in the back of my throat where usually if I do get them from time to time, they're going to be on my lips. So getting them in the back of the throat was just, and there's about 10 to 12 of them. So it was just not a pleasant experience. But for the most part, she seems to be doing good, but definitely throws off the routine a little bit when she's at home during the day versus when she's at daycare and we're working from home during the day. Overall, I feel maybe a little more achy than I do possible since Monday. Recording this on a Thursday, so hopefully the worst is behind me. I'm hopeful that I got every sickness under the sun when she went to daycare last year, so I'm hoping that my body was immune. I'd probably gone 5 or 6 years without really ever being sick. Then she starts going to daycare, she gets sick, she brings it home. For some reason, I would get it so much worse than my wife, which is probably a good thing. At least one of us, or I don't want to say a good thing, but at least one of us could take care of her. So that's been a little bit this week. Luckily, we've had some family help out where they can watch her a little bit throughout the day. So, but again, I threw a little bit into the routine this week, but that's just the part of being a parent where you plan, I'm going to go for a run at this time, or I want to get this work done. And then daycare is calling you, telling you you have to come pick up your daughter because she is sick. But again, hopefully no one else in our family gets it. I definitely don't want the flu. I don't enjoy being sick. I'm sure anyone listening to this doesn't enjoy it. Again, just been a little achy. But other than that, I'm hoping that that has nothing to do with the flu and I'm all set. I think part of me just taking a sip of water. I think part of it, I don't want to say could be, but last week I was running and it was -3 degrees out. So it was pretty cold. I mean, I was all bundled up. I had all my winter gear on. I had the baklava on. And then this week I'm running and it's 50 degrees and sunny. So it's literally a 50-degree, more than a 50-degree temperature change from last week to this week. And sometimes I think when the weather does that, I don't want to say does that, but when it changes so much, my body sometimes becomes achy. Like I find that when it becomes the first cold in the fall or the winter, my body's a little achy for the first week. I don't know why. You'd think I would be feeling better with it being warmer out, but not just what I'm feeling. But yeah, it was definitely, I really enjoy running in 50-degree weather than I do running in a -3 degree weather. Now, I'll probably wish I would be running in -3 degree weather when I'm running in, say, July and it's 95 degrees out and I can't find any shade. At least when it's -3 out, I can have all my gear on and I stay warm, but I never get too warm. When it's 95, there's nothing I can do. The sun's out. I can wear a hat, but if I'm running, especially these backcountry roads where there's farmland on either side of me, there's not going to be a ton of shade. But I'll worry about that come the summertime. I'm hopeful that spring is on the way. I would very much enjoy running in warmer weather than running in -3 degree weather. Where when I run, when it's this cold, it just hurts my lungs. I got like really bad heartburn. I mean, I make it through the run, because a lot of the times when it is -3, there's a ton of wind that's pushing the temperature down so much, and I'm just getting out I'm just out there for 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, and I'm just getting battered by the wind. So not the most enjoyable time of year, but I'm hopeful that now that I'm pushing myself through it and I've been running throughout the entire winter, that now that spring's on the way, it's going to get a little bit better. Something I have been using, and I had in stock for a while, and I had been using it when I was training for my sprint triathlon, was the BPN Recover. So BPN, if you're not familiar with them, they're a company called Bear Performance Nutrition. I really enjoy all the supplements that they have. But the Recover supplement, looking for the right word, Recover supplement, it's basically a post-workout supplement that I take after I work out. So I don't take it with a protein shake. I typically take it in between meals. For right now, I've been taking it between lunch and dinner, so about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3, I usually have a little bit of a snack, but not enough to worry about it or anything like that. Because it just recommends that you don't take it with a meal, because something along the lines of I am already having protein, already getting a lot of amino acids in that protein. I'm not a nutritionist or nutritional new. I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Dietitian, whatever the word exactly is. I just know that that's what it says, so I try to take it in between meals. But I do feel as though, especially with my legs this week, and I noticed it on Tuesday. So I took it on Monday, and then on Tuesday I go for my run, and Tuesday's my run where I do the hills, so I go up and down. And I actually ran faster on Tuesday than I did on Monday, and Monday's just my flat run that I go on. It wasn't much, it was 1 second, but usually I'm like 10 or 15 seconds slower going up and down these hills. But I felt as though my legs, they felt great. On Wednesday, I did leg day. I felt as though the legs felt fresh for leg day. I went off and did a run, a 5 mile run after that. And again, my legs didn't feel that bad. I mean, sometimes when I do leg day and then I'm going out there and doing a 5 mile run, mile 2 or 3, and my legs are just absolutely shot. I'm almost screaming. I don't want to say screaming in pain, but it's, I'm just dragging my way through it just because my legs are so sore that day. But I find that taking this recovery so far, I've felt pretty good. My legs have felt pretty good. So I'm going to continue to take it. But I'd recommend checking out if you're someone that just maybe needs a little extra bit to help you get over your workouts. And it's good for me because I look at it as I'm working out twice a day. Typically at the gym, I'm working out for at least an hour. When I'm running, it's anywhere 45 minutes to an hour or longer one day per week. It is nice just to have like an extra little supplement to help my body recover even just a little bit better than it had been normally, or how it had been before. Now, a snack that I started having, if you haven't had it, I recommend trying it out. And I like it. It's by the company called Amy's. So though I believe they're very healthy, organic, make really good quality products. For the longest time in college, I really enjoyed it was like their frozen cheese pizza with spinach on it. I found it was very good, but they have a burrito, and I've just been looking for different snacks that I can test out, and I bought a package of their burritos at BJ, so I got 6 of these burritos. So they're about 340 calories each. They have 10 grams of fat, so it's just perfect for me for a snack where today I want to get a little bit more calories in. I look at it, so right now to back up a little bit, so I want to stay around 70 grams of fat per day. So this morning I'm like, okay, I'm at 19 grams of fat through my breakfast because I don't eat eggs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so my fat content is typically down. So it was 19 grams of fat. I know I had this. I'm at 29 grams of fat. I'm like, okay, well, now I have 40 grams of fat left. I know my lunch that I have typically only has 3 or 4 grams of fat. So then I'm at 34, 35 grams of fat. And then typically when I have dinner, it's going to be a little bit more. So I count my milk. I just have milk that has about 4.5, 5 grams of fat in it. And then tonight we're having pork tenderloin. I'll probably have 2 servings of that. So I believe the macros on that are actually pretty good. Can't remember how many calories, but I believe it's actually pretty lean, or leaner than I thought. It's 4 or 5 or 6 grams of fat and 26 grams of protein. And the best part, it's like $6, $7 for a pound. And that's great for my wife and I. But going through that, I can start to look like, okay, like I'm going to be at 55, 60 grams of protein, even if I have this burrito that has 10 grams of fat. And not that if I go over, I go over. The goal is I don't want to be at 120, 130 grams of fat. And I don't track it all the time. If I'm going out to eat and I want a cheeseburger at a restaurant and I've eaten clean all week, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get it. But through the week, I really do like to track everything just to make sure that I'm staying on top of everything. And again, if you listen to my last episode, I really like to make sure that I'm getting in enough calories per day. And because of I can use my Garmin, I can see that I need about 3,100 to 3,200 calories per day. And I want to make sure that I'm getting it. The hardest part is when I'm at the end of the day and I've maxed out my fat. Maybe I'm at 225 grams of protein, which is more than enough, at least for what I'm looking for. I'm looking for about 175. So I know that's good. And then I'm 400 calories shy, and I'm putting in all this work. I want to make sure I'm feeding my body enough, and that's just to have the bare minimum. So it's nice when I can have a snack like this. It's like, okay, 340 calories, and then I had an apple as well, and that was 100 calories. Obviously, apples don't have fat, so it was 440 calories in that nice little meal. So that was perfect for me. So I think like right now I'm at through the day probably 1,600 calories before I've had lunch. My lunch is pretty lean. It's about 500. It's actually 491 calories. I know exactly because I measure everything out pretty much every day, and I've had the same meal every day this week. So 491 calories for lunch. That'll put me at 2,000, 2,100. Say, okay, now I need 1,000 more calories. I'll probably have a snack at 3 o'clock today. And again, I guess this episode's more digressing to how I plan the schedule and track everything, but not to digress too far away, but that's why I like to have that burrito. I find that it helps me, and I try to keep things not too fatty. I will say that I did try Transparent Labs protein bar, and I usually wouldn't buy them just because they were a little expensive, but it was actually my birthday this month, and I asked my parents, they're like, what can you get you? I said, hey, just give me a gift card to Transparent Labs. There's a couple of products that I want to try out. And I believe the protein bars, there were 12 protein bars. They were $39.99 or $40, however you want to call it. So a little bit on the expensive side, more than what I would typically pay for a protein bar. Had it last night, absolutely delicious. I will say that it did have 16 grams of fat in it. So I know I definitely went over yesterday. I think, maybe 10 or 15 grams over the fat content, but I really wanted to try it. And I made the mistake. We were having burgers last night for dinner. So this all the story ties in together. So we were having burgers last night for dinner, and I turned the grill on, and the grill's at I turned the grill as high as it can go, to get it started. After about 8 minutes or so, I go back on. I'm gonna put the burgers on. I made the mistake of I forgot to turn the grill down. What that meant is that when I go to flip the burgers out halfway through, the grill was at 600 degrees. It was like eating hockey pucks for dinner. So I was definitely a little bit hungry after dinner. I think I killed any bit of fat that was on that burger. So it was nice having this bar. I wanted to have it. I think it was 280 calories. That fit perfectly what I was looking for to get at the end of the day. But not to go too much on the macros, but the bar was absolutely delicious. I highly recommend checking it out. And I know for me, like, okay, if I want to have that bar again today, maybe I swap it out for the Go Macro bar that I have. The Go Macro bar is about 280, 300 calories. Plus it has, 10, 11 grams of fat in the Go Macro bar. So, okay, like maybe I substitute somewhere else throughout my day. But again, really enjoy that burrito. Enjoy the Transparent Labs protein bar. Obviously a little bit high in fat, but it does taste very delicious. Especially, if I'm going out there, I'm doing a 10-mile run, I'm not going to really worry about that much. Worry about that too much, or 15, 20-mile run when I'm burning over 1,200, 1,300 calories, and I need a lot to get back on track. Wow, that was a lot of talking on that burrito. Did not expect it to go that long, but sort of just one thing led to another. Finished the book that I've been talking about, Iron Cowboy. Don't want to dive too much into it. Recommend checking it out. In a nutshell, the individual, he does 50 Ironman distance triathlons in 50 days in 50 different states. It's a pretty cool read. It's really fascinating how he does it, how he pushes himself. So on days like today where I don't know if I really want to go out running, but hey, this guy did 26.2 miles, whether he felt like it or not, on top of all the other events of running or biking and swimming. I can go out, I can run 5 miles in the cold today. I think I'm survive. Now, when I read books, I like to mix it in between like business history or just I don't know if you would call it that, but just books about business. Like I talked about The Black Edge, learning about Steve Cohen and his company and how they were using insider information to grow his company. And then this one on Iron Man's. I really like learning about stories more so than I do learn using books as an opportunity. Like I've read so many different success books. I find that a lot of them can be repetitive. So now I'm looking for books that I can like learn more about event, learn more about something else. And then usually when I'm listening to podcasts, that's where I'll get that leadership, the business acumen and whatnot. With all that said, the book that I'm reading now, and I'll hopefully be able to provide updates on throughout, is called Dreams of El Dorado. I don't know why I had this idea, but I really wanted to learn more about the American West. I went on Amazon, looked through a couple books. This one seemed to be interesting. So it's all about the making of the American West. So it's been pretty fascinating. It's funny. I was going on the other day with my dad, talking to him about Thomas Jefferson and Lewis and Clark and what that looked like when they were starting to expand and why Napoleon sold the Louisiana Territory for however much he did. It was 10 or 15 million at the time. But yeah, it was very interesting and how the U.S. ended up claiming Oregon, where it was kind of just there wasn't really too much going on, so they were worried about maybe France or Spain. So not to go too much into the book. Obviously, this is more of a fitness podcast, but something that's interesting for me is anytime I have an interest in a book, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to read it, whether it's beneficial to my business or beneficial to running. If I have an interest in it, I'm going to make sure that I read that book. I talked about this a little bit before, but I've been listening to a tape by Jim Rohn. So he has a weekend leadership event in Anaheim, California, back in 24. So it's Jim Rohn, it's Dennis Waitley, I believe it's Zig Ziglar, and the MC of the event is Chris Widener. So I'm on to tape 9 of this, and I say tapes. It's funny. I still have a CD player in my car, and I won this probably quite a few years back now. I was a freshman in college. It was probably 8 or 9 years ago. I've had these tapes, but I just started recently listening to them again within the last month or two. If you haven't checked them out, I highly recommend checking out Chris Widener. He had a very good interview on the tape that I was listening to. He's all about success, and I know I was just harping on the books. I find just listening to it is a little bit easier for me at this point in my life. But he has a great. I was listening to some of his YouTube channel or some of his videos. I don't want to say on his YouTube channel, but some of the interviews that he's done and some of the keynote speeches that he's given. So if you're someone that's into personal development and success, which I hope everyone is, everyone wants to better themselves, everyone wants to be more successful, I highly recommend checking him out. And again, his name is Chris Widener. Something that coming up next week that's definitely going to be a little tough, not something that I'm going to look forward to, but I have to get a small little procedure done at the dermatologist this Friday. And what that basically means is that I'm not going to be able to work out or run next week. So basically, the procedure I'm getting done, they want to make sure that everything heals, that nothing comes open. Which kind of stinks, but I think it's good every once in a while to just take a quick little break for a few days, because otherwise I'm just going to continue to go as much as I can. Not that I'm going to really enjoy it. I think what I'm going to try to do is see how I feel on Monday or Tuesday. I have some weights in the basement. I'm not going to be going to the gym, and just trying to do some things like lateral raises, shoulder presses, trying to do bicep curls, tricep extensions, bent over rows, just different things like that. Do some lunges, just so that way like I'm not 100% away from the gym, and obviously I'm not going to be working out for an hour and a half. And then I have a stationary bike that I bought, or that I had, the bike that I rode on when I was doing the triathlon, but I bought the thing in the back where you can clip it in and I can ride in my basement. And I'll try to do that, keep my heart rate between like 100 120 beats a minute, keep it pretty low, try to do that for 30 45 minutes to an hour. Again, see how I feel with that, just to make sure that I know I have a hard time not working out or running, because it's so much my part of my day. I still got to do something. When I've got this procedure done before, a few years back, I ended up doing yoga every day, just trying to stretch and make myself limber. So I might do some of that as well. But again, that'll be hard. But I know it's just 1 week. I'll get back to it. I'll hit the ground running the following week, and I'll get right back to it. And that brings me into the last thing that I want to mention before diving into today's episode is, I've officially planning to do my first half marathon of the year at the end of the June with my brother. And when he brought it up to me about doing it, I was like, yeah, like I'm excited, happy to do it. And I was like, oh, I wonder what time they start. So luckily they started 6:30 in the morning, where most half marathons I do start at 8:30 or 9. But I've done them more in the fall, one in late August, but it wasn't too warm. It was maybe 80 by the time I finished the race, but so 6:30 a.m. start, which is perfect. Obviously, I want to be running in the morning, so just trying to figure out my race schedule, what I want to do this year. Do I want to run races that I've already run and see if I can run them faster? Do I only want to run new races? Do I even want to run a marathon this year? I don't know if I want to run a marathon this year. Do I want to do an Ironman triathlon? The issue that I grapple with when it comes to these decisions is when it comes to the marathon training, it just took so much out of me. And I know I'm gonna have to cut back on the gym sessions, and I really enjoy going to the gym 5 days a week. Same thing when it comes to if I want to do an Ironman, it's gonna be the same thing. I know I have to spend more time training on biking and swimming. I feel pretty good about the running at this point. Do I want to cut back on the gym sessions? And I don't know if that's something that I want to do. Right now, we're running these half marathons and these other races is perfect because once a week I either go out and do a 7 or 10 mile run. I rotate it every week, and which is perfect for me because I can still stay in shape for the half marathon. I know if I can run 10 miles, I can run 13 miles. That's not going to be a problem, and I don't have to necessarily I can still do that and still work out at the gym 5 days a week. So just trying to decide, okay, if I decide I want to go out and try another marathon with a lot more prep than 6 weeks, then maybe it'll be a little bit, I should be a little bit stronger. It should be a little bit better. But there's a lot, obviously, that went into that. Or do I want to stick with the half marathons, which I find are perfect for me right now? So just a lot, trying to figure out how I want to do my racing schedule, what I want to put my body through. So to be determined on what I'm looking to do this year. It's still early. There's still not any races going on in New York and the surrounding states that I'm in, but just want to make a mention of that. Super excited. He hasn't done a half marathon before, so I'll be running it with him. I've done two before, so I have a little bit of experience. I wouldn't say a ton of experience, but it should be a really good quality time with him, especially as he gets through that first half marathon. And I know that was for me is like once I got through that first half marathon, I was like, okay, how can I push myself further? Which is why I ended up doing my marathon. And just to touch on that briefly, what that looked like is I signed up for my first half marathon in October, and then I was like, I feel ready to do it. I'm gonna do it in at the end of August. Signed up like a week before, signed up, ran it, felt great. And then that's where in October I switched. I was like, I already done this. Like, let me switch to a marathon with 6 weeks of prep. Probably not the best idea, but that's why I sort of ran that marathon. But hopefully he'll get that itch. I think it's something that everyone should do. It would be running a marathon just to push yourself. I can just remember how painful it was mile 21 on and what that feeling was like. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, I can't believe that I finished it, but I'm glad that I did. And I have the medal to show for it. And I have the cool photos with my family and the photos from the race. So excited, super excited to run that event with him. Now, to get into today's episode, which is mastering time management as a hybrid athlete dad. The most important part when it comes to mastering time management is your early mornings and your structured routines. Nick Bear had a great episode on this, and I believe it was something titled Why I Wake Up at 4:30 a.m. every day. So if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend. He'll probably do a little bit better job explaining it than me, but I'm just explaining it to you in my own terms and what works for me. So when I work out in the morning, I have to make sure that I work out early in the morning before my daughter gets up, before work starts. I know that if I was trying to work out at the end of the day when my daughter is home, or maybe something or someone is pulling me into work, it's going to be that much harder to get away. So I know that in the morning, that is my time to work out. So I make sure of it. I set my schedule up that way. So right now on Mondays and Thursdays, I know my workouts are going to be a little bit longer. So I get up at 4:15 a.m. to make sure that I can be home in time by 7 from when my daughter gets up. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, I get up at 4:50 a.m. Similar. I know that that's going to be enough time for me to make it back in time for my daughter. And it was never like this. I gradually pushed it back over time. I used to get to the gym at 7:30 and then it was 7 and I started just getting up a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier. Early on, I was getting to the gym at 5:30 and luckily they implemented a 24/7 access so I could get into the gym if I had like some days I'm walking to the gym when I'm up at 4:15, I'm at the gym by 4:50, 4:55. So I'm able to go in and get my workout in. But again, that wasn't something that didn't happen overnight. I didn't go from getting up at 7:30 in the morning to getting up at 4:50. I just pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back and pushed it back and then realized, okay, this is what works best for my schedule. I really enjoy getting up more at 4:50 than I do at 4:15. But I know if I want to do these exercises today, then I have to get back in time. Then I have to get up at 4:15. And really the big differences for me in the way I structured it is Mondays and Thursdays I'm doing back, I'm doing shoulders, and I'm doing triceps. On Tuesday and Friday, I'm doing chest and I'm doing biceps. And then on Wednesday, I'm doing legs. So that's how I structure my workout. Which brings me to my next point is when it comes to mastering your time, make sure that you pre-plan your workouts. I have everything in the notes section on my phone, so that way I can go right to it and I can see the exact workout that I need to get done that day. And what I do is every so often is I'll go through and I'll start to adjust it. Okay, this is becoming too easy. Maybe I'm plateauing at this and I want to swap it out. An example would be I've been bench pressing for 2 or 3 months now. I feel as though I'm in a plateau. Let me switch over to flat dumbbell press and work on the exercise that way. But I like to have all my workouts pre-planned, so as soon as I get into the gym, I know exactly what I need to get done, and that way I'm not thinking, oh, okay, maybe I should do chest or shoulders. And then the simple part is I can see exactly how many reps I did, how much weight I did, so that when I go in there to the gym that day, I want to make sure that I'm doing either more reps or I'm doing more weight than I had been doing the previous week. The second part of being what you consider a hybrid athlete would be first part would be working out, so strength training, and then the other part would be endurance training. For me, that's just running. So I know that I have to run in the morning before work. So typically, after I drop my daughter off at daycare, I'll come back and I'll get my runs in during that time. Now, when it comes to the time management aspect of it, on the weekends, if I wait till the end of the day on Saturday or midday on Saturday, it's going to be that much harder for me to go out and get a run in. So what I do on Saturdays is I get up at typically no later than 6:15 in the morning, and I make sure that I get back in time by about 7:15 on Saturday mornings. I still have the whole day. Typically our daughter hasn't woken up. So I like to plan when I'm going to be running. So whether you're doing strength training or whether you're doing endurance training or some form of cardio. Now, the way that I was able to master this time was by making certain sacrifices. A sacrifice for me would be not staying up as late. So instead of going to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, now I'm typically lights out by about 9:15 every single night because I'm getting up early in the morning and I still want to get enough rest and I still want to make sure that I'm rejuvenated for the next day. I remember I used to stay up and watch every Thursday night football game, every Sunday night football game, every Monday night football game, and any football game in between there that I thought was worthwhile. And I mention that because typically these football games will be going on later. Nowadays, I can stay up. If I stay up to halftime, that's really pushing it because sometimes it might be 9:30, 9:45. I typically make it to the end of the first quarter. Well, yeah, I really enjoy watching football, but I know I'm going to be paying for it if I go to bed at 11 o'clock and I'm up at 4:15 the next day. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be groggy. I'm going to be irritable. I'm probably not going to have a great workout session. So I make certain sacrifices such as that. You want to make sure that what you get done is most important earlier in the day in case something comes up in the afternoon. I always try to block my mornings that as soon as I start my work day, I get everything done that is most important for that day. Because usually there's something inevitable that I couldn't foresee happening that comes up in the afternoon that's going to take precedence. And now I have to take a look at this, whether it's something to do with my family, whether it's something to do with my job, or whatever it may be. I like to make sure that, okay, by 12 p.m. each day, if I couldn't work the rest of the day because something came up, that day is going to be a success. I can check off, I went to the gym, I did a strength training workout, I did a 6 mile run, I got this, and this done for my job today. And now it's 12 o'clock, and in case something happens, I'm going to be all set for the day. And I would also reiterate the point that as the day goes on, once it becomes 4 p.m., because I've been up at 4:15 or 4:50 in the morning, I do start to get a little tired towards the end of the day. And I don't want to have coffee when it's 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So I just work my way through it. I know it's typically, this is what's going to happen because I push my body so much earlier in the day. And then now it's getting later in the day where maybe I'm not as focused and as sharp as I was earlier in the morning, which again goes back to making sure you get your most important tasks done earlier in the day, whether that is your workouts or whether that is you going out and getting your job done. Similar to pre-planning your workouts, it's pre-planning your meals or at least have an idea of what you're going to have. And this absolutely includes the weekends. So during the week, I know this is what I'm going to have for breakfast, this is what I'm going to have for lunch, this is what I'm going to have for dinner. Typically for dinners, I'll plan it on Sunday for the week. Lunch and breakfast, I have the same typical meal throughout the day. I've gone over on a couple of the other different podcast episodes, so I recommend checking it out if you haven't done so yet. Now, when it comes to eating on the weekends, I want to make sure that I'm planning ahead in advance. Maybe I have to stop at the grocery store. Who knows what I have in the fridge that week. What I recently started to do was I bought some frozen, I guess you would call them chicken strips. They're by Purdue. I believe they're 3 ounces. They're 6 grams of fat, so I know that there's 12 grams of fat per 6 ounces with a decent amount of protein in them. So if I'm in a pinch, I need to make something, I can have those, and there's not going to be a ton of fat with them. Typically on Sundays, I'll buy turkey meat, and for my lunch, and for my wife, I'll make turkey meat with potatoes in the air fryer and then some sort of side, which is typically like carrots. Not the most appetizing, but gets the job done. I'm not trying to make a full meal with like asparagus or broccoli. Typically would have those at dinner, but I find on the weekend, if I don't, I'm pretty good on my breakfast. Usually we'll do something nice for dinner. It's that lunch period where I don't want to be caught out if I'm having to stop. As an example, I really enjoy Jersey Mike's. I don't want to be eating Jersey Mike's that much. I know that there's a lot of fat in their food, especially if I'm getting something that has like bacon or mayonnaise or cheese on it. And I do enjoy those things, so I'm going to be getting it, getting it with it. But I don't want to be getting it that often. I don't want to be getting caught out. And sometimes for me, just trying to be frugal and be like, I paid $15 for this sandwich. Like, I could have bought in 3 things of turkey meat for what I'm paying for this sandwich. So I like to plan the weekends as well. And really the best part and what works for me is when it comes to mastering time management as a hybrid athlete dad is pre-planning your week, which allows you to pre-plan your day. I don't have much time during the week between working out, running, cooking meals, and taking care of my daughter and spending quality time with my wife. I want to know exactly what I need to do each and every single day. So what I do is on Friday, the previous week, I'll go through and I'll jot down, this is everything I need to get done next week. And then I'll start to build the week out. Okay, Monday, this is what I want to get done. Tuesday, this is what I want to get done. And then as the week goes, maybe like, actually, I don't need to do this. I'm not sure why I thought that. Maybe something came up in my job that I wasn't expecting that's now on my calendar. And I really like to pre-plan my week and then pre-plan my day. So like, If I come into work today, Thursday morning, I know, okay, here's my entire checklist. This is what I have to get done. Priority list at the top this week, where again, something comes up and I can't work beyond 12 p.m. So I'm just saying, what can I get done in a 3 hour time block that is most important to move what I'm looking to do forward? So I highly recommend planning your week, which allows you to pre-plan your day. I know there are people that pre-plan your months, that you can allow you to pre-plan your years. I think that goes back to a little bit more on the goal setting aspect of it. But in the day to day, I like to plan my week, which allows me to plan my day. And the last part of what I want you to take away from the podcast today is just to accept that you won't be perfect. Some days family comes first. There's some days where I have to cut a run short, or I don't get as much work done that I really needed to get done because there's something going on. Maybe my wife's sick, maybe my daughter's sick. Just understand that that's going to be happen from time to time. I can be very rigid in my routine, but I had to learn that there's just some things that are going to be outside of my control that I just can't control, and just accepting that no matter how good you try to be at mastering time management, that some days it's just not going to be perfect.